Rafiki yangu, how are you? Something happened this morning that reminded me of how much of a disconnect exists within our African community. We are always quick at blaming everything to the colonial era. And yes, that happened. That wasn't really cool. And that's also in the past. I just want to talk about the reality of today. And we have to look at our own internal division. Africans, generally speaking, don't like each other. Period. We fake it. So if you are gonna be sensitive, I ask you to move on. Don't watch this. It's not for the sensitive ones. But we need to talk about this. I wanna talk about this. I come from Rwanda, and in 1994 we had a genocide that was targeting a certain group of people. Now remember, these were friends, family, people who shared a drink, people who had married into each other's families. And one day, machete was how they decided to solve the conflicts. So keep that in mind because that has shaped um, who I am. In fact, it took me 24 years to return to Rwanda. I didn't want to go back to Rwanda, period. Today, I was reminded me of how we Africans we are fake. I remember when my father died in 1991. I was 14 years old. I was in shock, trying to process what just happened, losing my father, who was the last living parent at that time. My mother had died years earlier, and his death was very overpowering. That I didn't have time to cry. Mind you, he had been sick for a while, so let's say that I had dealt with my own feelings about what was going to happen for months. And so I didn't shed the tears. There were other things that I had to worry about my future. I can't change what just happened. I mean, it just passed. But we stay alive. And so I think I was concerned more about what's going to happen to us. Anyways, but at 13, you're, you're understanding things um, more than when you are small, right? You're trying to, at least for me, my brain was in full alert. I never forget my father's funeral. I wish we had a way to film it. There were tears from people who never showed up when he was sick, people who were strangers, I've never met them, and they were just jumping up in the air. I still remember those days. There's a period of time in your life that you experience that forever stays with you. And for me, that was that moment. It was that moment. Um, So Africans in general, Rwandans, I've seen it, especially in Rwanda, up to this day. I'm sorry, Rwandans are fake. I even see my own relatives, my own family. Don't even get me started. Out of respect, out of privacy, I just don't share. But okay. So here's what I mean by this. And using that specific example of my father, why were those people jumping up in air? Where were you when my father was ill? Did you ever show at the hospital? No. So why coming to the funeral? And that's another specific uh, pet peeve of mine. When someone passes away in our culture, suddenly everyone is concerned. Everyone wants to do something about that. By that I mean they want to come and bury the dead. Why? Why? You never showed up. What the fuck? You never showed up. Suddenly I'm supposed to care about someone who just passed because suddenly what? It's the culture. What's wrong with you Africans? If you were never in my life, do not cry for me. I don't know who you are, and I don't care. The people who are in my lives right now, my life, how many lives do I have? Um, my kids, my wife, and my few friends. Those are the ones who really, literally should be on my funeral. I'm not saying I'm dying, but it makes sense. So this brings us to another point. I do admire the Western European and Canadian. It has taken me years, but they don't fake it. They don't. And yes, I mean, Western, yes, let's say white, but also some Africans that do not fake it. Either they like you and then don't like you. And I have grown to admire a good friend of mine from Germany who had met here in Canada. And 2 years ago, he said, "You know, Charles, as much as I like you, I just want to be your friends anymore for a number of X and reason I'm not going to share here." But here, he was straightforward. An African would never have done that. Yeah, right. He ran and he would have kept smiling at me and pretending and all that stuff that you do, wasting our time. At some point, you really have to end it and be cordial about it, not dramatic about it. I'm married and I admire my partner because she does not fake her feelings towards me. She's always the most authentic person and respectfully so. There's no over drama. Um, yeah, my wife is not from Rwanda. And so I will leave it to that. But I do admire that aspect of the Japanese culture where it's very respectful, but it's also to the point. Um, so let's not fake it. Do not fake it. If you like me, period. Even if you're my relatives, great, fine. I did not ask to be born uh, connected to you. It happened, but you have to deserve the relationship. If you're my friends from Africa, don't waste my time. All right, pretending and faking it, doing je ne sais quoi. You either like me and the relationship, we have to work on it. But don't waste people's time. And yes, I think Africans, we don't like each other. We waste each other time. We pretend. We blame everybody. It's always everyone but us. It's always everyone but us. It's time that we look inside our hearts and soul and ask ourselves this question: what's wrong with us? And let's not blame colonial because that's in the fucking past. And I'm sick and tired of blaming it. And let's not wait the white people for our ills. The problem is not the white people. The problem is us. You get it?